Hi, in this video, we'll download Unity and make our first game in Unity. So yeah, let's get started. If you don't have your Unity installed, then I want you to search download Unity on your browser and you'll find unity3d.com, the official site of Unity. Over here, you can go ahead and download Unity Hub. Once you have installed Unity Hub, you can open it and go to installs and you can add a Unity version. This might take a while to get installed as it the size may vary from 5 GB to 10 GB. So go ahead and download any LTS version, long time support version. So go ahead and download any of the LTS versions and just go next, add any modules. If you're planning to make a game for Android, then check the Android module. OpenJDK and SDK tools will be important. Check what's your target platform. If you're making for web, then you might want to add WebGL, and once you press next, it should install in your Unity Hub. Then let's move to our projects and make a new project. So I'll choose 3D project. If you'll use the drop down button for new, then you can select the version you want this project to be made in. So I'm gonna choose the latest version that I have installed on my machine and I'll name it first game. Let's create this. It might take a while to open, but let's be patient. When the project will open, you should have all these windows by default. The game window might be somewhere here, but you can dock any window anywhere you want. Like I can take the scene window over here. So see what fits you, what helps your workflow. This is our hierarchy, and in our hierarchy you should see our main camera. This main camera view, we'll get to the main camera right now, but just two basic things you'll see is a directional light and a main camera. So let's add an object. I'll make a cube. Let me just reset its position. On top left, you should see these icons. The one should be for move, so you can move the object around. The third one is for rotation, and this is for scale. So right now I am trying to make a ground, so I'll just scale this and make a ground. These options can also be selected using QWERT, the code. So you should see those are the shortcuts for these options. Let's give this a different material. So if I'll go here and I'll choose a material, I'll name it ground material or ground mat to simplify the name, and let's drag it on our object. Now in here you should see you can change various stuff. So I'll choose a dark gray color. You can give a texture if you want to. These are just default textures that we have. So I'm gonna choose this check texture and tile it up. So I'll do 20 by 20 for tiling, and this looks great for prototyping. So yeah, let's use this. Over here in hierarchy you can change the name for your object, and this window inspector is all the components that your object holds. So we can see that our object got a material, it got a box collider. If we'll remove the box collision, if we'll disable it, then another object won't be able to collide with it, but we want the box collider so our player can stand on our ground. This mesh renderer won't render the mesh if we disable it, and mesh filter is just telling like what kind of object this is. It gives the mesh data basically. So we have selected cube for our ground, and over here you'll see transform. These are just positions, rotation, scales. In here you can see we changed the scale in X and Z to 11 and 11. I'll just make it. Now let's go and create another object. I'll make a capsule for our player. Let's also reset its location. Now I'll move it a bit above the ground to show you guys that how a rigid body works. First of all, in your inspector you should notice this have a capsule collider. So I'll just show you how the capsule collider actually looks. If you can see in the game window, you can edit these collisions how you want your how big you want your collider to be, but I'm gonna keep it as default. And if you'll change your scale, then it should also edit your it should also change your capsule collider as well. So I'll just go ahead and add rigid body to our object. So you should see the use gravity should be true. Let me show you what this will do. So I went into the play mode and you should see the object is going down and colliding with our ground as use gravity is true. If I'll disable use gravity, see it should keep floating on top. So about these buttons, this is for play, this is for pause, and this is to move a frame. We'll keep the use gravity as true. So we'll be using the gravity for our player. I'll change the name from capsule to player. Now for your first project, I'll show you a basic movement for your capsule. But first thing I want you to do is freeze the rotation in X and Z axis. We don't want our player to fall, so I'm gonna freeze the rotation in X and Z. You can find this in constraints in your rigid body. Now in your add component, you can name something like player script, and it should have an option for new script. So let's create and add a new script. Now in your project folder you should see that we have material and we have a new script, player script, that we added it to our player. So I'll go ahead and open the script, and you should have Visual Studios installed. If you don't, it will say that you don't have a you haven't given any external tools. I'll just show you in preferences, external tools. If Unity will find a Visual Studio, it should by default choose it and as your external script editor. So if you don't have Visual Studios installed, you won't be able to open the script. So let's talk about the start and update functions. Start is called at the first frame and update is called every frame. So you can reference something in start, and in update you can use it to change every frame, but right now we'll use update and make our player move. So for that I'll do transform, and we won't choose a transform with capital T, transform like this. And what this transform basically is, as our player is holding the script, so this transform will basically mean that we'll get the transform of our player. So let's do transform dot translate. Translate is used for moving a player. So if I'll just basically do 0.01f in x-axis and I'll keep other axis as 0, I'll just show you what will happen. Our player should start moving in the x-axis. You see how slowly it's moving in its x-axis. Now if you'll make it negative, it should start moving. And also it might be a good time to tell you that we need to save our script before seeing any change. So I'm using the shortcut Control plus S. For Mac it might be Command plus S, so look into that. Now as I made it negative value, it should move in the other direction. You should see in your game window how it's moving. Alright, I'll Now what we want is we want our player to move by some input that player will that the person who is playing will give. So also this, if we'll do the same value in y-axis, our player should start moving in y, but it might not work as we are using gravity. And same for the z-axis, like in the it was moving in the x-axis, it should start moving in the z-axis as well. So now what we want is, let's do input dot get axis. Actually get axis is the best way to go, but as this might be your first game, I'll show you input dot get key down. Actually we'll make it outside the, so over here we'll do input dot get key down. Let's do key code. Now you can give any key that you want. When pressed, our player should move. So I'll choose A, and inside the brackets of our if statement, I'll simply put this 0.01f value, or actually let's speed it up a bit, so maybe 0.1. Now when I'm pressing A, you should see as it is get key down, it's only working when I press it once. So if I'll just do get key, it should keep moving while I'm pressing the A key. So you should see. Alright, now you can do the same thing, like else if we press the D key, then we want to move negative X, or maybe positive X in D key and negative in A key. So let's copy this chunk of code, and in our else if I'll choose D and make it 0.1f. Now in play mode, I'll show you we are able to move in both the axis in X. You can do the same thing in Z axis as well, but let's choose an easier way to do this, as there is an easier way to do this, which would be over here we can do input dot get axis, and for the axis this will be a string value. We haven't given any axis yet, but I'll show you where we are, how we are going to set these axes. Edit, and in here you should find your project settings. I'll dock this somewhere here, and in here you can find input manager. I'll just scale this window up a bit. So in here you should see all the axes. If I'll open the horizontal axis, we'll see negative button will be left and positive button will be right, which is A and D. In this case, that's the keys that we want, and which will be for our x-axis. In a vertical, the key will be S and W, W for positive, S for negative, and also down and up. Same, the left and right key were the arrow keys that we have on a keyboard. So vertical will go in our z-axis. So in here I'll do input dot get axis horizontal, and I'll copy this and paste it here, and instead of horizontal I'll do vertical, and I saved my script. Now let's run our game. You should see I should be able to move in all the axes, but we need to normalize the speed a bit, so we have to multiply it with time dot delta time, and same for here, time dot delta time. It's used to normalize our speed, like before we were giving a really low value 0.01, and right now we are using 1 with cause of a horizontal and vertical axis. By multiplying, you could have simply multiplied it with a smaller value like 0.1 or something, 0.1f or something, but time dot delta time is a better way to do it. And now I'll show you the speed should be normalized, actually really slow. So I'll make a float, I'll name it speed, and we'll multiply the speed to our movement in x and z. Alright, let's also make it a serialized field. What serialized field will do is expose this value in our inspector. So I'll select my player, and you should see we have a speed component now which is set to 0. So it's not doing anything right now, and actually we are not able to move now as the value speed value is 0. So I changed it 1.4. So yeah, try different values, see what fits your game. Alright, this speed looks great for me. This is like around 3. So I'll choose 3. Once you'll exit the play mode, you should see the value should be back to 0. So 3 worked for me. So I'll select 3 over here. And yeah, everything looks great. Now finally let's instantiate some points and show them, as right now it's not a game, we are just moving our player, so it's not fun at all. So I'll go to my UI and I'll add a text. This text field will show our score. So right now I'll just set it to 0. Let me just, we are not able to see the score right now. Need to scale the text field up. So in here we can anchor our score. So I'll anchor it to our top left corner like this, and this will show our score. If you double click to any object, you should come near to it. So that's how I came closer to the player object right now. So yeah, now we need to give reference to our text field to change our text. But before changing our text, I'll just add some basic objects. Let's add, let's say spare. Let's add some small points that a player has to collect and move it down somewhere. Let's duplicate this again. Let's add one at the left and another point somewhere here. So you can make different levels using this, make some difficulties for player to collect points. But right now I'm gonna keep it simple. I'll just make 3 points. And now back to our play script. I'll give reference to our text field, but for doing that we need to use a namespace using Unity engine.ui. Now we can make a text field, we can name it anything, let's say points or score text, and actually we don't want to collide with our points, so I'm gonna select all these 3 and make it a trigger, so we don't have to like collide. They are not balls, these are just points. So now in here I'm going to use a predefined function on trigger enter, which will get called when a player gets collided with these points or any trigger object. So I'll just do, I'll make a integer value int score, and we'll just increment this score plus every time our player will collide with the score thing, with our points. And now I can simply show this score in our score text. So I'll do score text dot text equals to score dot toString. We had to convert it to string to show it in our text field. Now let's see if it works. I'll move the player here. Okay, so I got an error in our console, null reference exception. So object reference is not given. So if you'll see in our player, we don't have it. We can't see our score text field. So we can actually give reference in our start as well, but I'm just gonna make it a serialized field, and now it should be exposed. Our score text should be exposed. And now I can simply go to our text field and drag it in our score text. Let's go again. Let's see if it works now. Yes, so the point is getting incremented to, but if I'll keep on going like this, it will keep on incrementing, so we don't want that. So now what I'm gonna do is, you should see this collision other. So this is the other object that we just collided with. We'll do destroy, and inside brackets I'll do this other. So this will be the other object that we collided with. I misspelled destroy, my bad. Alright, now that object should get destroyed. So I'll run the game again. Let's see. And okay, it didn't get destroyed. I think I'm destroying the collision of that object, as this is the collider, if you'll see. So we are not incrementing the points, but let's destroy the whole object itself. So do other dot game object instead. And now let's see. Yep, it's getting destroyed. You see it's getting removed from our hierarchy as well. So only one point is left, which is over here. So I'll move my player to that point, and yep, it's gone as well. And we got 3 points on the top left corner. So yeah, I think this is good enough for the first game. Leave a comment and tell me what else would you wanna see in this series. So yeah,